this is Emily with Along for the Roll, and today I'm just going to be telling a little story. Something that I think maybe some of you might find interesting. So, stories about the glorious nature of handicap placards, and I have a lot of placard-esque stories, a lot of interesting experiences around parking and such, but this is the most recent and probably the most, memorable one. So, back in 2018, I believe it was like November or December of 2018, I was living alone. I lived in a secure building, an apartment where I would park out front in a handicap stall. And let's see, it was a Sunday night. I was getting ready for bed. It was like 11 p.m. I was probably in bed, about to fall asleep, and I hear banging on the door, like so intense, so loud, like the wall was shaking, and the door was like rattling really intensely. I jolted up, heart started racing so intensely. It was really quite the experience. To put some context into this, a few months previously, probably just 2 to 3 months, I had had some very negative run-ins with an individual who had come into my building and would knock at my door so they would get access to my building without me wanting them to, and come to my apartment. And so I was very alert of anyone knocking at my door, especially since it was a secure building. I always got a text or call from someone who I knew was already, on their way, and I would meet them out front and let them in. So when I got a knock on my door and not expecting anyone in the middle of the night, it freaked me out. I can't even explain. I thought someone is here to get me, to kill me, to get in my apartment and wreak havoc on my life. I can't even describe. My heart was like in my throat. Like I could barely sit up because I was shaking so badly, and I needed to put like pants on because I was like freaking. I'm like, someone's gonna get in the apartment. I need to get my pants on, and so like I bent over to grab my pants that were at the edge of the bed, and it took me like a minute or two to get them on because I was just shaking so badly. So the knocking or banging is still happening. I don't know what to do. I'm not gonna open the door. I'm freaking out. I'm just like, maybe they'll go away. They're not. So I call my boyfriend. He lives down the street at this point. So I'm like, over the phone, I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, something terrible is happening. Someone's here, and they're trying to get into my apartment, and I don't understand why. And I'm freaking out. Please help me. So he's like, should I come up there? I can drive up there. And I'm like, yes, please. So he comes up to the apartment. He gets in the apartment, and lo and behold, he tells me what he saw outside. And that is 2 police officers standing next to my car. And they apparently were the culprits of this banging on the door, which had, in the few minutes before he came, had stopped. Which explains they were outside. They were the people who had been doing that. So he explains, I talked to the police officers because I saw them out by your car, and they're out there because someone called the cops because your car was parked in a handicap stall without a placard hanging up. And I must say, I used and currently still use a hanging placard that hangs on the rear view mirror. So I'm always very mindful to hang that up all the time, because I do take it down when I'm driving because it will block some of my view, but I always keep it in my center console and hang it back up. So I was like, what are they talking about? I obviously have a placard. Please go back out there and tell them and find it or whatever. So he goes back out there. He's out there for a few minutes. Comes back in. He's like, it's not in your car, and they're not going to leave until they give you a ticket or you figure this out, because apparently this is really important to cops. This is high priority. So I'm really anxious and angry one, I'm still anxious and like super, I don't know, just from that experience of the knock on the door, I'm like, my heart is still pounding and I'm still really reactive to that. But I'm also angry, being like, why is this happening? Why are 2 cops going about this in this way? Like, this is not that important. Okay, so I start rummaging around drawers trying to find my second placard because they give you 2 of them. And I had an extra one somewhere, but I could not find it. And I was freaking out because I'm like, I need to get this taken care of. I need them to go away. I need this to be over. And I couldn't find it, and this isn't happening. So I tell Andrew, I'm like, I don't know, please check the car one more time, because I'm like adamant about not going out. The part of me wants to go out there just to like roll out in my chair and be like, piece the out, and because obviously I am handicapped or disabled, and you know, I have a placard, but cannot I find it at this moment, so just go away. But I didn't, because I was just so like, I don't know, my brain was like everywhere, and I was just so pissed at the whole situation. So I was just staying in there and making him do everything for me. So he goes out one more time, comes back in. They found it. It was in the back seat. Apparently I'd flown back or something, or been kicked back there by accident. And then I didn't remember to find it and put it back up because it wasn't in the center console where it usually is. So some mystery occurred. And then someone saw my car and decided to call the cops on a Sunday evening when I lived in an area that was very highly patrolled by parking people because it was on the campus. So they could have just waited till Monday morning, and I would have surely gotten a ticket by the appropriate venue, the appropriate people, and could have taken care of that gladly. I've gotten tickets before because of placards not being seen or because of forgetting to put them up, and they usually get wiped out, and that's totally fine. You know, it's definitely an inconvenience. I've racked up quite a few tickets in my life. But this was just like, I was so pissed. So anyway, placard's found, it's put up, the cops leave, they're like, okay, cool, we're good to go, bye. And I'm livid. I'm like, what the heck? Why is this necessary for 2 cops to come out for a parking violation? Obviously, just thinking of all these things and just really angry when at the person who called the cops, or the cops coming over here. This is not a life-threatening situation. I'm not breaking an imminent law that is like so important that they need 2 cops to come out and figure this out at 11 or 12 on a Sunday night. It's like, move the, on, and just, it will take care of itself. It's a parking situation. Oh, I was just so mad. So I had all these thoughts of like the vengeance I wanted to take on like the whole situation. I was like, I'm gonna call the police station. It was the campus police. I'm gonna call them and report these police officers for just like how irresponsible they were and how, I don't know, adamant they were in an unnecessary situation, putting undue stress. Like banging on my door like that was so unnecessary. It was like they were trying to like break down my door. And then I also wanted to find the person who called the cops on me and make them feel as guilty and horrible and like a terrible person. So I thought about hanging a note on my car window, just, because obviously the person passed by my car and saw it. So they would see the note, and I would put something like, obviously I have a handicap placard, stop calling the police on me. I know it's you. I just wanted them to feel so guilty and bad because it caused a ton of anxiety and stress to me, and for weeks I was anxious anytime I heard the door or a rattle in the wall, like because the building was kind of rattling, the door would shake a little bit if something slammed in the building. And so anytime I heard that, my heart would start racing because I had this anxiety come up again after that incident. And I'm like, these people don't get, you can't just call the cops for any dumb thing that is not necessary. Yeah, I thought about staking out by my car and taking out my placard to see who would call the cops and being like, found you, like, you're calling the cops, it's you. I have a placard, and throwing it in their face and be like, bam. Didn't do any of those things. Didn't call a station, didn't hang up a note, didn't do anything, didn't get a license plate, handicap license plate. So that happened. I was pretty pissed, pretty affected by it for a few weeks to probably maybe a month or 2. And I was just like pissed. I was constantly talking to people about it and like, how did this happen? Why did this happen? Why are people calling the cops on people for not hanging up a placard? That's ridiculous. I've gotten mad seeing people not have a placard up in park because I'm I'm disabled and I utilize those parking spots, so it personally affects me. But I have never once thought, I need to call the cops on that person. They're they're harming someone. They need to be stopped. Yes, they need to be stopped, and they're very inconsiderate. It's inconsiderate to park in a handicap stall when you don't have a placard or using one illegally, or you've stolen one from someone else, or using it inappropriately. You're using like your grandma's or whatever. That's a cool thing to do these days. But just, it's not appropriate to call a police. You can just be angry or whatever, but like it will work itself out. Like the police, it's not the proper venue. So that happened, and I am pissed and will always be pissed about that situation. And yeah, now that I'm in Colorado, I'm renewing my plates and getting Colorado plates. I'm 100% getting a disability, like handicap plates, because I do not want to deal with this again. I put my placard up every single, religiously, it's always up, but I'm never dealing with this again. This was ridiculous. So yeah, that happened, and it was a really bizarre situation. So let me know if you've had any bizarre parking situations, whether that's related to a handicap placard, whether you were using handicap placards, you saw someone else using one, or even just you were just driving around, had a weird parking scenario happen. Because this was pretty weird for me. This is pretty much the most out there scenario I've had, and it will be burned into my brain forever. It has affected me. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. Maybe you guys thought that was interesting. So let me know what you think. And subscribe if you're interested in these kinds of stories, or my channel and my experiences and disability and whatever. So yeah, let's talk more. Comment, subscribe, do all the things. See ya.